Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's so lovely to be here, out here, in this beautiful space with all of you. Because of the nature of this summer, this is, I think, only my second time being out here, so I'm really feeling very happy to be in this space with all of you, and we're so pleased to welcome you. Hi, Patty. Can't hear us? You can't hear us at all? Well, we can hear ourselves. Jim, they're saying they can't hear us back there. Well, we're going to begin, and hopefully that will resolve itself. We're going to begin on page 24 in our prayer books with the words of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mimlalech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachei HaShalom, join together in the blessing of the Sabbath lights. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen.
We continue on page 20 for Lecha Dodi.
La
welcomed in this beautiful place with all of us here together. We now turn to page 146 for the Baruch Hu. Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim bechochma poteach sha'arim uvitfuna meshane itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmorotehem barakia kirtsono bore yom balayla golel or mipnei choshech bechoshech mipnei or.
יום ובין לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב הרבים.
Shema can be found on page 149.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בעם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, ושרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לעולכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue in the middle of page 150. We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all, yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes, there is a vision of perfection, order, and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago, we escaped the tyranny of Egypt. Our people saw the power of the Most High. So we celebrate this power that makes for freedom.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Amen.
We continue in the middle of 153. Give us a place to rest, O God. Shelter us in the long, soft evening shadows of your truth. You are true protection and safety. In your presence, we find love and acceptance. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours.
Baruch atah Adonai, haporeh sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Turning to page 155, I invite you to please rise for the blessings of the Amidah. Adonai sefatai tiftach
Ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, velohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tobim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol, Atah Rav le'hoshia, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishene afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, Ve'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. At this point in our service, we turn our thoughts and our prayers to those who are in need of healing, healing of the body, or healing of the spirit. This Shabbat, we're praying for Cindy Baker, Baruch ben Yaakov V'Fredel, Emily Berkowitz, Robbie Blitz, Miriam Chassi Bat Yaakov HaKohen V'Sara, Ada Barbara Corvelli, Julie Levine, Alfred Marcus, Josephine McWhorter, Melissa Miller, and Audra Gale Weiss. And of course, to those names, we add all those that you're thinking of this Shabbat, all those that are on your mind who need maybe a prayer for healing, maybe just a little bit of extra hope. I invite you to share those that you're praying for with us, with the community, if you feel so inclined, your relationship to the person. Prayers for healing. Patty? Sure. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals the sick.
Leimotenu
from the healing of the body, we turn, of course, to the healing of the world, praying for that thing that we need most, the blessing of peace here at home, in our community, in our country, and one day we pray around the world. Shalom Rav can be found on page 164.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Looking around this evening, I am once again, of course, as I always am, struck by the beauty, the trees, tonight the warmth, I think the perfect weather, the sounds that surround us. I keep hearing in the corner, my eyes, I keep drifting a little bit. There's been spurts of birds in the trees. And when the weather is like this, of course, it also makes us keenly aware of our time of year. And I've talked about it a lot, but the way our Jewish calendar allows for those moments to be marked, times to pause, opportunities to think, opportunities to just stop and notice where we are. And our calendar this week indeed has one of those moments in it as we prepare to enter the month of Elul. Whether we like to believe it or not, the beginning of Elul is when we start preparing for the holy days, the high holy days. And not just here at Temple, but at home, within ourselves, within our own hearts, our own souls. And it is our chance to embark on that journey of returning to ourselves, the journey of teshuvah, of reflection, of introspection and soul searching. I believe it is truly a time to help us discover each year our sacred purpose. So as we get ready to jump into it, to get ready to jump into the thick of Elul, maybe take a moment. What might that look like for you this year? How may you use Elul, right? We have a choice of what we do with these times of year. Do we lean into them and dive into them? Do we let them pass? A moment to think and a moment of silent prayer.
Teach us how to live. Gather us in joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes. Teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. We will know that you are one.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
What is essential is invisible to the eye. I heard this quote, which is from the wonderful book The Little Prince, when I was listening to a podcast this week called Finding Fred, that's all about Mr. Rogers, his theology, his legacy, and his impact. On the podcast, they said that much of Mr. Rogers' theology, and I'll just add here that he was actually also a Presbyterian minister, in case you didn't know, in addition to being a famed children's television host. They said that much of Mr. Rogers' theology and way of being in the world was based on this line, and that he had a framed version of it up on his wall above his desk. What is essential is invisible to the eye. I was struck by this line because while of course we need food and water and places to live, we also need love and kindness and support, all things that are in fact invisible. This begs the question, how can we actually see things that aren't visible? One approach was Mr. Rogers. He said, "I like you just the way you are," over and over again. He sang it because he embodied so much that was invisible. He connected with children and adults alike, and by telling them that he liked them, us really, just as we are, he created a connection that we could not see with our eyes, but that could be felt deeply, almost like our hearts could see the connection, even if our eyes couldn't. And so I was particularly moved when I started reading this week's Torah portion, because it starts with a command from God, Re'eh, see. The text says, "See, I set before you today blessing and curse. The blessing is when you listen to my mitzvot, my commandments, and the curse is when you don't connect with my mitzvot, but turn away and follow other gods that you don't know." One could understand this line as saying that if you follow the mitzvot, you'll be blessed, and if you don't, you'll be cursed. And in some ways, that would be easier. Do the right thing, and you'll be rewarded. Do the wrong thing, and you'll be punished. But that's not how I understand it. What I think is being suggested here is that seeing the connection with God, or acknowledging it, is itself the blessing. Abiding by the commandments and doing the mitzvot leads to a connection with the divine, an ability to see God, whereas feeling disconnected and following gods that we don't know is the curse. The curse is then a result of not seeing. Let's open our eyes and see. Trust that we can see God, even if God does not always feel visible. When the Israelites received the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai, the Torah says, "We saw the sounds, understood as thunder at that moment." We saw the thunder? How could that be? How could something that we know to be invisible be seen? Rabbi Ovadia ben Jacob Sforno, an Italian commentator from the 1500s, understands this moment as our hearts absorbing the wisdom and connection that this crazy and insane moment offered. We saw the thunder. Libi ra'ah, my heart saw, he quotes from Ecclesiastes. The Israelites had a visceral experience that engaged all 5 senses of their bodies. I imagine that some of us feel like we can see God, and then there are many of us that struggle to see God or don't feel a connection to the divine for any number of reasons. We need facts, there's too much suffering in our personal lives or the world, or it just feels too implausible. And that might be true. We are often unable to fully grasp something as intangible as God. But we know there are different types of seeing. We see what's in front of us. We can see a friend. If we're really lucky, we can even see into another's soul. And sometimes, as at Sinai, our hearts can see. So for this moment, imagine what it would be like to not just see something that is invisible to the eye, but to see first and foremost with your heart, being aware and open to moments of holiness and awe. Can this be what it means to see God? I want to suggest that doing mitzvot also helps our hearts see God. I love this idea that doing a mitzvah in action makes seeing possible, because it means that experiencing that connection to God, to other human beings, to the earth, to ourselves, awakens our hearts and then forces us to open our eyes. So much of this week's portion is spent on all of the mitzvot the Israelites are supposed to observe once they enter the land of Israel, guidelines for ethical behavior that help us see and connect to one another. In particular, there's a significant emphasis this week on those very mitzvot that pull at our souls and connect us with God, taking care of those that are most marginalized in society, those that are often invisible, referred to so often in our tradition as the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. They guide us towards seeing with and acting with our hearts. Mark what you can't see with something that you can. Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt suggests that you can experience a connection with the source of all being, her word for God. Whenever you do a mitzvah, whether an ethical one, such as cooking for those that are hungry, or a ritual one, such as lighting Shabbat candles. You can experience a connection with the source of all being when you feel love for your parent, your child, your spouse, your friend. She continues that you can experience a connection with the source of all being when you walk in the woods or step outside, as we are right now, and become aware of the bird song and the glory of the mountains. When we do these mitzvot, we feel connected to God, and that's our blessing. Shai, my 4-year-old, who actually is here, I wasn't expecting him to be here, but he is, so one of the first of many call-outs from the Bima, I suspect. He recently asked me if I see God. It's a big theological question for such a little guy, but I loved that he asked it. I'm sure if the people sitting around us in the cafe that day were listening, they probably couldn't believe it. We had an amazing conversation where I talked about when and how I feel most connected to the divine. We discussed nature and people we love and how we try to be honest and kind and that we do good in the world. I was able to share that those are the ways that I see God. And then I got to ask him if he sees God. Shai talked about how much he loves rainbows. an actual physical manifestation of God's promise, but I don't think he knows that. And at that moment, libi ra'ah, my heart saw. When we connect with others, when we're aware of the world around us, both the beauty and the pain that is always present, when we do mitzvot, if we do this from a place of love and intention, that can be a way to see God, even if it sometimes feels a little too hard. Mr. Rogers understood that well. He explained things slowly and carefully, especially things that were not often seen or that were actually invisible. He did not ask people to change. He simply said, "I like you just the way you are," as a way of showing that he saw that what is essential is often invisible to the eye. His heart saw, and ours can too. Shabbat Shalom. We continue with the Aleinu on page 282. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגמור עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
We now come to the words of the mourner's Kaddish. These words honor the lives of those in our families and communities whom we have lost. As part of honoring their memories, when you hear the name of loved ones you may have lost, if you feel so inclined, we invite you to rise to honor their memory. At the conclusion of the names, we will invite the entire congregation to rise as one sacred community and join in the words of mourner's Kaddish. We are saddened to announce the passing of Ruthella Harwood, wife of the late Jerry Harwood. The funeral is on Sunday at the Riverside Cemetery in Saddle Brook, New Jersey. We are now in a period of Shiva for Don Falk, husband of Barbara Falk, father of Julie and Stephen Weiner and Susan and Michael Klass, grandfather of Raquel Weiner and Marissa and Liam Klass. The funeral was earlier today. We are in a period of Shloshim, the first month, for Anita Randell, Herb Feldman, Joan Bloom, Cheryl Lamazor, Esther Berg, Benjamin Wolf, Lila Margulies, and Jay Teitelbaum. This week is the yahrzeit anniversary of the passing of Ida Block Abelis, Lenore Beckerman, Julia Bergman, Herman Blank, Flora Price Bloom, Irving Blum, Gerald J. Borkan, Joseph C. Braylow, Arthur I. Davis, Lenore B. Fursko, Harry Fishman, Norbert Galen, Harris Michael Goodman, Jane Lindemann Greendorfer, Joseph Greendorfer, Sidney J. Greendorfer, Harry Green, Elaine Isaacman, Harvey Kahn, Lester D. Kahn, Irene Lieberberg, George Lieberberg, Harry Philip Lowy, Andrew Marcus, Herman Marcus, Herman Marks, Daniel Marks, Sadie Pizer Menkes, Celia Negrode, Minnie Sickle New, David Osberg, Betty Osberg, Aaron Perlmutter, Aaron Rappaport, Julie Rosenthal, Annie Rosenstrauch, Julius J. Schreiber, Ruth Seidenman Shapira, Julius Schieslow, Clothide Kramer Sickle, William Solomon, Edwin H. Stern, Rita Nomberg Wallerstein, Emily Eisner Wantock, Sarah Weil, and Millie Weiner Weinberg. With the memories of all we have mentioned tonight and the memories of those we hold in our hearts, we turn to page 294 and rise for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Belma divra chirute v'amlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon u'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam olmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May their memories be a blessing. You may be seated. So I want to draw your attention to a few announcements. So one is, as Rabbi Leah mentioned, we are right around the corner from the high holidays. We are getting very excited, as well as next week. So please go to the website to make sure that you have all the information and everything you need to be here with us. Wise Aging with Rabbi Gewirtz continues this Thursday, August 17th at noon. I know that it's been a very meaningful opportunity for lots of people, so I hope you will attend. And also, we continue to celebrate 175 years of TBJ. So if your family has been involved since Newark, or if you have been involved here for many generations, we invite you to share memories or stories that you have, and there is more information in your order of worship. So we will continue with Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho me'ahava u'bratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'masei v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
bringing our service to a close. We're going to lift our voices together one final time with the melody of a nigun, a song without words that perhaps helps us to open our hearts and see with our hearts without our eyes. You can even close them if you're so inclined, but feeling that sense of community, that sense of love, that intangible, invisible feeling that we know brings us closer to a force greater than ourselves. So we join together. You know the words, Yai Lai Lai. Here we go. Yai Lai 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 Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai, Yai Lai Lai.
Shabbat shalom.